this Warren?
Yes, there we go. I can see everyone now.
Okay, hi Warren. This is Tabitha.
Hi, nice to meet everyone.
Hey. So we are here. We have quite a few people here who is ready to learn a little bit about dyspraxia. Can you kind of just give us a short overview of what dyspraxia is?
I wish I could make it short and complex, but this is very, very neurological and psychological disorder. So I'll take you through the brief steps and then I'll make it more complex as we go along. Okay. This is a condition within the brain where the neurons are not connecting, syncing, and firing, which basically means the left side of my brain is not talking to the right side of my brain. There's a disconnect. So everything that I need to do and everything a child needs to do with this condition has to be memorized. It doesn't come naturally. So everything needs to be taught to us step by step, which impacts our motor, our memory, our judgment, our processing, our function, our senses, our language, and our speech. It never comes alone, and it also impacts the central nervous and the immune system as well. That's why our eating habits could be interesting, as long as our sleeping habits. This is a condition of extremes within our bodies and how we interact with the world around us. So with the condition, each person's going to have a different fight or flight reaction, and one family's ability might be another family's weakness. So I can break down those key components as well, and we can learn more about that as we go along.
Okay, that sounds good. One issue that I noticed that Allie has is she has, I think everybody would agree here, she has an excellent long-term memory, but her short-term memory is kind of altered. Is that normal with somebody with dyspraxia?
Yes, that's how we function in life. It makes it very confusing. I'm married with the condition. I say I saw my in-laws 2 weeks ago. It was 6 months ago. And now I have a fight with my wife. I have no sense of time and space. So anything that I have to do has to be processed and function within my mind over and over again. But anything that just happens now, I don't know what now means because I can't memorize time. So things have to be stored and converted into long-term memory in order to deal with the world around me. So short-term memory and time and space really don't have that existence as it would for everybody else. So the short-term memory is highly impacted, and as you can imagine, creates a very interesting and dangerous situation as you get older as well.
Can you tell us like a situation, I know you and I have talked, you moved to the city. Why did you move to the city?
Oh, for sure. My parents live in Florida, not too far from you guys. And one of the big concerns with the condition is I can't judge how far away objects are. So I didn't want to learn how to drive by hitting other cars on I-4. So I had to move to a location that provided me the ability to get around, the ability to feel like I'm like everyone else. Because my intelligence and the intelligence of the child is not impacted. It's how you bring forth that intelligence. But not even be able to get out of the house made me feel very isolated and stuck. Because I wanted to learn how to drive, but then I couldn't judge how far the cars were, just like I couldn't judge when writing how to stay within the lines. So that parallels to a 3,000-pound automobile. So you can see the danger and the situations, how that worked out too.
Okay. Allie does have a big issue with writing. Can you explain how somebody that's writing on a piece of paper that's one-dimensional, how she views that piece of paper versus how we would?
See, the problem is I don't know how you guys see the world, but I know how me and Allie see the world, and that's the unique thing. For us, if you move an object, a two-dimensional object, a non-computer, non-video game system, one way to the left or the right, it's like a completely different object I'm looking at. So not only is it difficult to judge how much pressure it is when I'm applying what I'm writing, because I can't memorize force, I don't see to write within the lines because I don't see those lines to begin with. But when I'm on a computer and typing, it becomes muscle memory. And the keyboard won't change. It's the same no matter where you are. Whereas if I turn that piece of paper one way or another, it's like a whole new object. And I'm trying to do guesswork, and I don't even see those lines. And as you can imagine, as you get older, let's try something like geometry. I don't see that sort of space and depth like everyone else.
Okay, that is excellent. Also, another thing that she's having a lot of issues with here in kindergarten is her behaviors. She has no impulse control whatsoever. She constantly gets in altercations. She runs into other children.
Yeah.
Yes, no impulse control. Can you kind of explain what it's like for Allie to go to kindergarten? What age level of maturity would she be at?
She's basically going through the terrible twos in kindergarten, looking at other kids trying to mimic what they're doing and getting internally frustrated. We all deal with levels of anxiety, whether we can express it or not. Because if you have to memorize everything you do, that means you need the control of everything you do. So we respond without thinking, which means I don't know how a situation will impact me until I've gone through the experience. I remember being 5 and I got kicked out of kindergarten. Not because I was a bad kid, because all the other kids were building blocks and I couldn't do it. So my reaction was, I'm going to take a block and throw them to all the other kids, because I didn't know how to respond and react. And I didn't have the adequate therapy to teach me 28 years ago what I was going on with and how to react to this situation. My reaction was frustration, because why could somebody else do this? And then everyone's telling me, you're so smart, and I look around, and they're doing things I'm not able to, and we internalize things a lot, because we're converting that information over. So we're also our hardest critic. So we respond without knowing, and then we get really frustrated within ourselves.
I think that's definitely true with Allie. She constantly wants to get praise. She just doesn't understand why her work's not as good as everybody else's and why she can't do what other people do, and then she does react to that with her.
See, the thing is, too, we also have horrific judgment, so we think that we're actually doing it really good, when it actually might not look like that to everybody else, but in our mind, it does, and then all of a sudden I'm running into a door. Where I thought I knew I had enough space, in my mind I did, but when I physically tried to do it, I couldn't judge. And I got frustrated with myself because I planned it out in my brain, but then when it came to a real-life application, it didn't work that way. And I got in trouble, too, for running into kids, and it wasn't me being mad or frustrated. I didn't know how far away they were from me, just like driving a car. So I ran in, and the other problem is, too, I can't even judge how much force I apply. So when I even hug my wife, she tells me I'm squeezing her with such intensity. For me, it's just a little hug. For her, it's like, ugh, I can't breathe. We don't understand. But the same thing applies with emotions. If I hug you and you hug me back, that means you like me. So we don't understand emotions like everyone else. I understand happy and sad. Anything that falls in the middle, like assertive or aggressive, I need some role-playing therapy to go through that.
Okay, that's really good. Anybody else? Oh, I have another question. We were talking about, she does have to be corrected. And whenever she's corrected, in her mind, they don't like her. And that's how she views it. The teacher doesn't like me because she made me sit in my seat.
Yeah.
And she remembers that about that individual.
And I can tell you all the kids who were mean to me when I was 3 at 33. It doesn't, our long-term memory is so amazing that I can recall that information, and we're so literal and sensitive and empathetic that if we think we do something wrong once, you hate us for life. I've told my wife several times, if I make a mistake, does that mean you're going to divorce me? And she just laughs at this point now. But in the beginning, I thought if I made one mistake, that was it. Because in school, when people not being aware of the condition, I could have been ostracized for things I couldn't control. So we're not sure internally, being intelligent, how much people are aware of things we're doing because we're a child or things we're doing because of our condition.
Okay. And now I'm going to turn it over to everybody else. Does anybody else have any questions or things that maybe you don't understand that she does?
With the writing, so should she not do any writing? Should it all be on the computer? That's my question.
With writing, her special education teacher is here, and she wanted to know, should she still attempt to write on paper, or should we go right now to using computer and only a computer?
I can tell you now, if I had to write on a piece of paper, I would be in so much physical pain, I'd be crying and screaming. Because I don't know how to how to hold a pencil, and I put so much pressure, I have hypotonia, which physically hurts. The best thing with the condition is that we can memorize. So like I said, the keyboard over time becomes muscle memory. And since you want to develop young with this condition, not only would the typing be excellent, but we can do things orally if your speech is not impacted, how I'm speaking to you guys. Because I don't think any teacher wants a child to be in pain. But what we can learn through is that first when I started to type, I typed so hard that the keys would come off into my fingers. Then I typed so light that I wasn't making enough. Now, after time, I type 50 words a minute because it became repetition. So the earlier we can learn repetition and take away some from the physical pain, not only can we show our intelligence better, we can process and function with the kids. Because if I'm on problem 2, the rest of the class, writing-wise, is on problem 6, I'm internalizing and I'm feeling like I'm stupid, because why are they ahead of me? I learned to use the keyboard, I'm keeping up with you guys.
Okay. And I mean, right now, you know, it's a learning process. I know in kindergarten, what are some better ways? Because she is very easily distracted, and whenever she's doing testing, I know her teacher said she'd be on question 3, but by the time she's on question 3 or 4, Allie's coming back and answering question 1. How
Yes.
can we accommodate that?
With the condition, this is a huge concern of safety and danger. We need somebody monitoring us in 101 aid for everything we do. Even from the age of 3 to the age of 33, people can take advantage of our empathy and read right through us and manipulate. If someone's there to direct and observe and guide us, then we can do things. At 33, I went to Chase Bank, and the check didn't clear. My judgment was I made a mistake. My wife had to guide me and say, maybe they made a mistake. This is how you talk through it. She is my aide. And then the check went through, and I can get food for the week. In my mentality, if someone didn't do that, I made a mistake, I did wrong. Now someone's guiding me and aiding me. Now I can pay my bills. So it changed very quickly. But you also have safety concerns for something like in the playground situation. I don't know how far away the swing set is from me. So I have somebody guiding me and showing me how to use the equipment around me. In that guidance situation, you take away from that danger and that safety, and I can learn my body a lot better too. And there are therapies that can help that as well.
Okay, but like as far as the testing, how should she be tested? Because there's certain, you know, they do have to ask the kindergartners questions, and they're expected to say a response. Should she be on a time limit more than everyone else? Should she not be on a time limit?
Sure. Basically with the condition, it takes roughly 30 seconds to convert short-term into long-term memory. And we can only do things step by step. We can't multitask for anything we do. So if someone's doing it step by step, reading the instructions to us, I can process and function. You give me that 30 seconds to take that one step in. My intelligence is not impacted, I can tell you. If you expect me to go at the same pace as everyone else, I don't know how to self-prioritize. I don't know what is or isn't important, and I'll be analyzing that one problem unless somebody guides me and shows me and provides those steps for me.
Okay. I think Laura, did you have a question?
I do. I am with a provider that's going to provide services after school and on weekends. And just in general, an idea of, and I say discipline, I don't mean, negative consequences. I'm just talking about how to talk to her. I'm a love and logic instructor, so I kind of tend to go there. But wonder if you have a suggestion on like prompts and or reminders.
Oh, very good. If we can't see it, it doesn't exist. So visual schedules for us is absolutely important. It's like my wife will say to me, you have food on your face. I can't see my face. If I can see something that reminds me and shows me and guides me, then I can take it in, then I can process and function with it. If you just say something and remember me to expect that instruction and interpret it, it's no way. But if I have a visual system guiding me on what to do, then it's telling me what is or isn't important and how to process it with my day. And how we internalize things is also very difficult too. So we need praise all the time because we're also very, very hard on ourselves. Because we believe that everything we do starts from negative to negative positive. It doesn't come natural. Our mind says we make from 0 to 100. There's no middle ground. So we're perfectionists as well with this condition, which makes it very hard on ourselves. So someone could teach us we can do 20% today, 20% the next day. It's okay. You're not going to not like me. I can learn this way. Because we don't understand that mentality.
Thank you.
So as far as discipline, it needs to be visual. How should you talk to somebody with dyspraxia? Like as far as when you're disciplining that person, how do you discipline somebody with dyspraxia that has no short-term memory?
This is what my wife has learned as well. You have to show me the extreme of what I'm doing, how bad it could be. Because I would always find the loophole of how it could not be bad and interpret it a different way. If you show me, wait a minute, if you cross the street without looking, this what could happen? Okay, no. If you say if you cross the street, you get hit by a car? Okay. Oh, you're getting royally. You're going to get hit. Okay, now I get it. Now I understand it. We live on extremes. And if you could show us or explain to us how something could be so extreme and impactful to us, then we'll take a step back. If not, we can't interpret the world like you guys. Because we can only memorize a certain percent of it. So we don't know, how serious or how severe something could be until we've had the experience. But if you show us, And like I've had parents who take kids to Disney World and they freak out because we didn't realize that the characters can come to life. So if you explain to me, you show me a video of Disney, and now all of a sudden there's a character and he's walking around and it's okay, you take away my anxiety because I prepared beforehand what the situation will be like.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Lauren?
How do you calm Allie when she is overstimulated? Remove her from the area or try some other form of explanation, like at family get-togethers, when we're all sitting around talking, eating, at Christmas, opening gifts, and she acts out or is, throwing things. Is she just overstimulated and we just move her from the area? Or is there a different way we need to approach Allie with her gifts, or, do we need to explain what we're going to do before we sit down to go eat or before we sit down to open all the gifts? Because it's going to be loud.
Right. Allie truly does, Warren. She gets very, very overstimulated. She does not eat in the cafeteria because it is too loud. I'm very thankful for her teacher. She actually takes her back to the room. And also with family get-togethers and things, she becomes very overstimulated whenever there's a lot of people around. There's a lot of conversation.
Yeah, because it's also the ocular concerns, judging how many people. Or if 10 of you guys started walking towards me, I would freak out because I don't know how far away you are from me. Because I don't have the sense of personal space. And also the sound and the judgment. I had to explain this to the high-rise in a building I live in. I can't judge tone and sound. I can't memorize it. So I don't know if I'm on volume 10 or volume 100, which keeps my wife up all night because the volume is so loud. But I can't interpret that. So if like a fire alarm goes off, that's the loudest sound I ever heard. For you guys, it's just a fire alarm. So these senses can also impact, how we interpret the world around us because it's laying us down so much, because it's so extreme in our minds and our bodies.
Is it best to remove her from the situation or explain to her how the situation is going to be?
How the situation is going to... We don't do very good with surprises. You explain to us what it is, and like you can even say, you put on a pair of headphones. This is a low volume. Okay, this is a medium. Oh, okay, this is a high... Gotcha, now I understand it. Because all of a sudden, and then you freak out, and then you get really anxious and scared and timid and crawl up, because we don't know how to judge sounds like everyone else as well. And the lights too. Like even sitting in that room you're in right now, that one light above me would feel like it's the hottest tanning light on my head. And I would freak out because my body doesn't alter regular temperature as well, because nothing is, keeping regular because my brain and my body doesn't connect properly. So they would feel like it's 100 degrees in the room. For you guys, it might feel like it's in the 60s.
Okay.
Or the other extreme, that the child's freezing, because our body, and we have the extreme reactions to everything we do.
Okay. And Allie, one question for us on a personal family note. She has never slept through the night, ever. Is this something we can look forward to eventually coming, or is this something that she will continue on forever, having horrible sleep patterns?
My wife has given up at this point. You just leave. Like I'm like the guy who watches sports and you leave on the couch and you just leave on the couch. Because once I fall asleep hard and I'm good, but I can't memorize sleeping patterns. I don't have a sense of time. So finding the ability to sleep and when I actually get to sleep, it's great. Here's the problem. If I'm sleeping and I hear one noise, I'm up. There's no middle ground. There's a light switch on or off. So what you can do, especially as you get older, is you fatigue us as much as humanly possible. A lot of movement, a lot of physical activities, get a trampoline, make us jump around, make us move, because just like everybody else, we'll get tired. But our sleeping patterns are always going to be impacted one way or another. One child will sleep 14 hours, and then you'll have me, who sleeps at most 4 hours a night. So.
Okay, so essentially, probably not. She'll have erratic sleep patterns for a
Yeah,
while.
it's funny. My dad has the condition too, and it drove my mom crazy, and now it's driving my wife crazy. So yes, the sleep patterns are very, very interesting, along with the eating patterns as well. They sort of parallel because you can't memorize being full, or just like the senses before, certain textures in food will set us off. We won't even touch it. And my grandma was like, "Don't you like my cooking?" Well, I don't have the experience of trying that food yet. So until I've had that experience, it's anxiety until I know what it tastes like and know what my senses feel like.
And talking about eating, whenever she has ate a food, and she does like that, I know she's went out with us and family members before, she will actually eat and eat and eat until she absolutely vomits because she eats so much. It's either one extreme I don't eat or another extreme I eat so much that I vomit.
See, here's the funny thing is, once again, I'm a married man with this, so I can give you experiences from my wife's perspective too. If I have a bowl of cereal, it has to be filled to the complete top, because I have to show you that I can finish it. If I put maybe a halfway bowl of cereal, I'm not doing a good enough job in my mind. But then the next day, I filled myself out so much, I don't want to eat it all. So we have these extremes of balances of how we try to balance the world within us. But I can eat 2 deep dish large Chicago pizzas and still feel hungry because I don't remember eating and I don't feel full. But as you get older, as you imagine, your metabolism goes a little funny.
Right. And also another issue that we have at home is a milk cup. She has no sense of, she has a particular milk cup that she drinks. And constantly, every 2 minutes, she's calling us to fill in this milk cup. But it's essentially full. She is like infatuated with that. Does that make any sense as to why she takes one sip and she thinks the milk cup's empty?
Yeah, I do that all the time with my coffee and tea in the morning, and then I go back and I get 4 more cups of coffee. So yes, this is very, very common. You don't make these accurate judgments. And here's a very important thing. As you're starting to see, we have lots of obsessions too. And the obsessions is something we feel good with or we can convert information over. With poor judgment, this is very important, we can easily be steered into bad obsessions, which become addictions. Because, now the child's older. 1 beer tastes good, 10 tastes better. It's feeding my senses, so I need someone to guide me what's the accurate way to deal with these judgments and these obsessions. Because if I'm obsessed with reading books, that's great, but if I'm obsessed with bad things, because of my empathy, people could take advantage, and now I've got another problem.
Gotcha. And I was also reading about dyspraxia and talking about going into adolescence. And sometimes, we all know that the world is not full of good people. Do people with dyspraxia trust everybody?
It's one extreme or the other again. Either I trust everyone or I don't trust anyone, which makes it very interesting. I live in Chicago. The taxi driver says to me, which is the best way to get home? I trust his decision. Now it's $10 more for me to get home. The next time I take a taxi, I go, this is your job, here's a GPS, you take me home the right way. On the middle of a huge highway where I'm yelling at him, that's not a good idea. Because my wife was like, you need to be assertive or aggressive. I didn't understand those emotions. So I thought it was best to scream and yell at him. Because I wasn't sure how to judge him, because I don't know how to judge people around me. And there are things that people will do naturally that you really can't help, because everything we do is a pattern based. Like if you say, we're going to Walmart today and we're getting a gift, and we don't, I freak out. That's all I can think about. Or if you make a left turn instead of a right turn, human nature. All I knew how to get home was the left turn. Why are you changing my pattern? What did I do wrong? So as you get older, kids can see through our empathy pretty easy and take advantage. That's why you need to be able to self-advocate for this condition. Because it's called a hidden handicap. Because we look just like everyone else. But since our empathy is so high, people could realize that it's very easy to take advantage. Especially when you can't deal with change and now you're going through puberty and now your body's changing. So you don't understand those senses as well as you get older.
Yes.
I am interested in sensory processing and therapies for sensory issues. You mentioned earlier the therapies we have today you didn't have. What were you referring to, and what do you think of?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Behavioral optometry is a therapy that allocates my mind, my brain, and my eyes to come together to have a better sense of depth and space. This is well known in the UK. This is how they would treat someone who has the ocular motor concerns that I have, which can honestly look like fine and gross motor skills. I'll make it very simple. Run, forest, run, gross motor. Stop, forest, stop, ocular motor. That's why, judging objects and running into kids, if you have some of that behavioral optometry, it's not going to cure all, but it's going to give you a better time of sense and space and how to react and how far away objects are. So that's and also some of the cognitive behavioral therapy. Like I said before, if you can talk through us, our intelligence is not active. So if you give me role playing, I can learn how to make these decisions. The problem is that one day a reaction is not the same as the next day, which gets me very confused. It's why I need an aide with me to respond. And say you raise your voice now, how am I supposed to memorize if you're raising your voice to get your point across? You're screaming, you're yelling at me. I can't judge that. So if I have an aid to guide me through those steps, then I can do things a lot better.
I think that, does anybody else have any questions, or?
Should we be trying to get her working toward sitting with helper and working with other children in small groups? Because right now she can't, but we try to work her when she does, or should we just keep working with her by herself?
Right now, Allie sits at a table by herself, and I think a lot of it has to do, with not being able to judge how close people are and things of that nature. So it does make her very nervous when somebody's sitting next to her, because she really feels like somebody's on top of her. And at group, she's really not able to sit in a group with somebody in front of her, beside her, or behind her. She gets really nervous. She starts to act out. Should we be working towards those things? Or would that be traumatic more so for her to work towards those things? What's your opinion?
With the therapy, like the behavioral optometry, that'll give you a better sense of how to deal with that sense of space. It's always scary and fearful. Like I said, I live in a city of millions of people in Chicago. And since I can't judge space, I'll walk with people across the street, assuming that's okay. Well, that also looks like I'm pickpocketing people, because I don't know how close I am to them. So which gives me another dirty look for people. It's like they don't understand. But the reality is, with this condition, you have to have the experiences in life. I know there's a lot of fear of letting us try things, and sometimes it can be very dangerous, and I understand that. I've broken every bone in my body because of it. But I'm here talking to you now because I've had the experiences of. And since I was also able to interact with children and adults who have more skill sets than me, now I'm actually happily married. Because I was learning how people also had relationships. So some of the things that might be fearful to us, we can learn through therapies, but also through experiences, because experiences is what guides us with the condition.
So it would be a good idea to work towards that. Should we work towards that in small increments of time?
Yes, and I can tell you there are lots of famous musicians who have dyspraxia, and how they do it is they have tape on the floor, so they know how far away some object is or a person. And they develop each step into how they learn. Like Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. That's how he did Broadway. There was things on the stage to show him his distance in space. But the reality is, the world is in 3 dimensions. I can't change that. So you have to learn to impact and get along with the world around you. Because just like everybody else in the room, I want to be doing the things that you can, and I might do things differently, but since my intelligence is not impacted, I am able to.
So when she's yelling no at us and what we think's refusing to work, is it really that she's just nervous? Does she understand that she's not following directions? Does that make sense? Or
When Allie, she really acts out in the room whenever she tries anything new, and she yells out, no, I can't do this, I can't do this. And she really doesn't even attempt right now. Is that because she truly cannot do this? Is this because she's nervous that she's going to mess up? Or is it a mixture that really you're essentially going through the terrible twos right now because her maturity level's behind? What?
Yes, I'll try that all too. Something very simplistic in life. Like I said, I have cereal all the time. And my wife one day decided to get soy milk instead of skim milk. It took me 3.5 weeks to try that. I had so much fear and anxiety of trying something new because I haven't had the experience with it yet. I didn't know what it would taste like. I didn't know the reaction to how I would enjoy it. So in our mind, we start from negative to make it to a positive. So it's really hard to break that cycle of no and that, yes, I can try, and I can learn, and I can develop. Because we always think no first because it doesn't come natural. But once I learn how to do it, then I get really into it. But it's that breaking that anxiety and trying those experiences. Because, certain things I've tried, at first I was like, no, I can't do it. I used to have fear up until about 9 years ago speaking on the telephone. Now I'm speaking to all of you guys. I used to have such anxiety that I would say something wrong and it would offend everybody in the room. But now I know through experience, even if I do make a mistake, it's okay. Because we're so hard on ourselves. We're our toughest critics as well.
Is when she goes to school, how is it for her? Is she working hard? Is she not trying? Because, a lot of times you really feel like she's not trying to do stuff. Is she? maybe
We're-
trying in her own way?
We're internalizing in our brain. We're taking everything in and we're converting it over from short-term to long-term memory. We're observing at this point, like her being so delayed a couple years. She's seeing what typical 5-year-olds are doing and trying to store that into her memory how she can do that too. The frustration gap comes when she's not able to do it the same way. But then eventually she might be able to connect some of these skills and some of these skills she might not. I mean, it took me 19 years to use a can opener. I can't use a screwdriver. Does that make any sense? No. But every time I open a can of tuna, I do it 3 times a week because I can. It took me a long time to learn how to use that skill set, but I can do it now. The problem with the condition is, too, and this is what confuses everyone, there are very good and very bad days with the condition as well, because it's a wiring disorder in the brain. So what confuses people is the inconsistency of how we learn and develop. Because certain things you're like, you did that yesterday, you couldn't do it today, is always a point of frustration. It's just those good and bad days and the repetition, always and always. If you asked me to put a VHS tape in, and you said, here's $1,000, I couldn't do it. Because I don't use a VHS tape anymore. It's an older system. But if it's something I do all the time, it's part of my routine that I'm able to function and do it.
Okay. And we are here right now, we're looking at getting Allie maybe a one-on-one aid that could help with schooling and things. And I know I was reading, and you also let me know about Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. Something that he did on set was drunk antifreeze because they put that in a regular drinking cup.
Yeah.
Are there safety issues and things with dyspraxia? Obviously.
Well, here comes the interesting thing, too. Since we live on extremes, we like to test the extremes, too, and within ourselves and internally. But with poor judgment and making decisions, we don't know until we've had the experience of. So I don't know what is or isn't a dangerous situation. That's why I need someone guiding me step by step to provide me that information. Because if somebody said to me, Warren, here's a toy, now go in the backyard and now run around. Okay, wow, now I'm running around and now no one can find me. I didn't think those steps ahead. I haven't had that experience. And now nobody can find me and I'm missing. These are things, some of the concerns my parents had, because people can take advantage. So I need someone to step in and say, no, you do this, you don't do that. Because if not, I can get myself into really some dangerous situations. And even at 33, it's so problematic. Like I said, I trust everyone now to make the right decision. I crossed the street in Chicago, and I assumed the guy ahead of me knew what he was doing. I hear my wife screaming from 2 streets away, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I'm already crossing the street. I didn't realize he was homeless and had some mental health issues that was drinking, and he didn't know what was going on around him. I assumed his judgment was okay. And now I'm crossing the middle of the street, and cars are zooming around me. And the same thing in a playground situation, because like knowing how far the object, knowing how much force to apply, there's a lot of dangerous situations that can happen. And not only having those therapies, but someone guiding you step by step how to implement those therapies is beyond essential. Because nobody wants to get hurt with this. And obviously you want to learn through experience, but you have to have some sort of safety net to do it the accurate way too.
So she does learn step by step. We couldn't say, go in your room, pick up your toys and put them in the toy box.
No, I still couldn't do that at 33. Go to my room. 30 seconds later, okay, now what do you want me to do in my room? Do this in my room. 30 seconds later, okay, now what do you want me to do? Because if you do it all at one time, it's too much information. You're going to give me a meltdown, literally, even at 33 years old. I can't take it all in and memorize everything so quick and so fast. If you do it step by step and you work with me and you give me time to process and function, you can. Like, I try to go shopping during the afternoon because it's less crowded. Well, I went to CVS the other day and I did the Express, which I try to explain to them how hard it is for me to pack a bag, but that's another problem. And then all of a sudden I'm going really, really fast, and I look behind me and there's nobody there. I assumed that there was 100 people behind me, and everyone's telling me to go so fast, that's why I'm making problems. If someone's with me, guiding me step by step, I can do it.
So even with schoolwork, something as simple as, children, go to your desk, get out your pencil boxes, and let's get out your notebooks. She couldn't.
Visual reminder on my desk saying, this is your pencil box. Okay, next step. This is what you do next. Then I can follow it. I mean, it's not a teacher's fault that you guys can process and function faster than we can. That's just how our brains are wired. But things have to be done step by step for us because we get very confused. And the amount of confusion becomes very interesting, especially as you get older. You do weird things. It's like, Warren, you're walking the street with 2 left shoes on. Oh. Because usually I have a pattern where I have my left shoe on the left side of the house, my right shoe on the right side. If you break my pattern, if you don't guide me step by step, now I'm having physical pain walking around the city. So everything has to be guided and shown and demonstrated to me step by step. Because if not, I'm oblivious to how things react and respond, which makes things not only challenging, but also very, very dangerous in a lot of ways. And nobody wants us to get hurt. And the problem is, kids will be kids. And kids will say to try to do this and do that. And we won't know the accurate judgment unless we have someone telling us, you know what, Warren, you probably shouldn't run in front of the playground. Something could happen. Because I wouldn't think that far ahead. I couldn't. I haven't had that experience yet.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I got one question. Sure. As far as the writing, is he saying for her to just go ahead and start keyboarding or, and not give her the experience of attempting to learn some of the visual memory? At least go through like writing first, like saying, and expand on that. I'm saying like break it down where it's not so overwhelming, but.
She will try to give her, like she paper, she will try.
Right now, the occupational therapist is here that works with Allie because she does get occupational therapy here in school. And she's asking, should we go ahead and just break off and just start using the keyboard? Or should we still continue to try to at least get down the basics? It's a basic thing to be able to write your first and last name. Right now, she will still attempt to try to write some things, although, if it's something new, I think we can all say she really does get very, very frustrated with that. But should she still not try to learn the basics as far as the writing, like with your name?
Sure. I mean, even that now, a lot of things I can do through my tablet. I just do a squiggly line. That's how I write my name at 33. That's my signature. But if you have to look at, as a teacher and occupational therapist, if the child is having associated hypotonia and is in physical pain due to the judgment, the association, learning to use the keyboard at a young age is going to be so beneficial because it also helps with how we process and function the world around us. So you can take away some of that pain too, but obviously doing some of the basics is essential, and I can do the basics. I can maybe write a couple sentences, but anything more than that with the hypotonia, it's in so much pain that it's hard to even go on with my day because I'm so physically impacted that way. But I can do some of the basics, but even learning to do the basics on a piece of paper and an object I don't see, it's all guesswork. It's like, if I put my socks on, I don't know what's the heel and what's the front. It's just a guess. So sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But if the child's actually demonstrating, or you can see some of the physical pain, getting on the computer at the earliest stage is the best. And we can also memorize and become experts on the computer because that's the way we see the world. So that's sort of to our advantage. And unlike, 28 years ago being 5 years old, I didn't have to have these technologies to support me. So I had to go through the hard way of learning. And I was just shaking my hand crying, and nobody wants that. So if you can get used to that, yes, it's important to teach the basics, but see also the hypotonia and the pain level and see how that's impacting too.
Yes.
So I'm kind of hearing that this is so exhausting, and I'm not in her school, but does she need frequent breaks just to rest her body? I mean, we'll be working with her in the afternoon after school, and I'm just assuming that she may need more frequent breaks to rest. Would yoga be something like yoga? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything that can help us relax and meditate is great because we're extreme. So you can take it to the other extremes to take us to relax. It's great. It's like if you look at it this way, it's 30 seconds to process and function. If you're teaching, if you're working 9 to 5, that's an 8-hour day. For me, that'll be like a 24-hour day because everything is going step by step. So the fatigue level and the fact I'm not sleeping on top of it, thinking I have to memorize everything I do, is such a physical, demanding neurological disorder. So if you give me 5-minute increments of little breaks, that's like a 15, 20-minute gap in my mind. So I can get back in tune with things and feel better. Because I always need those breaks all the time because I'm always working so hard and always overstimulated in the world around me. And it's nobody's fault. I mean, I can't change the world around me, but I can learn to grow and adapt with it.
Okay, thank you.
So going to school for Allie, let's say I always drop her off every morning at 7:30 and she gets picked up at 3:30. So you're saying essentially for us as a normal adult, that would be like a 24-hour working day because that's 8 hours.
And then you ask me what I did today. I don't even know what part of the day it was. And then it's time for homework, and then it's time for therapy. Yeah, it's very, very, very fatiguing because everything has to be memorized. And, not having that ability to make things come naturally for you guys just takes so much time and effort. It's like if I had a job and I worked 2 to 3 hours, that would be like a 9-hour shift. That would be a full-time job for me. Like even us, I can see we've been talking 40 minutes. For me, it feels like I've been talking 3 hours. So this is a long gap for me. And I can only do like 40 to 60-minute increments. Otherwise, it's so tiring and fatiguing. But everything I'm saying to you is memorized. It's a rehearsed script in my head of how I've learned to deal and how I was trained by the top experts in the UK on the disorder. That's why I can keep so long. If we had a conversation about something different, I would be having a meltdown as we speak.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? All right, Warren. Well, thank you so much for being here with us, and we really appreciate it. And I think you've really explained to us kind of, what a day's like in Allie's life and what she struggles with daily. I mean, I'm sure there's other things that we'll play into and we'll learn as she gets older and different experiences.
And that's a thank you as well. And that's also very important. With this condition, it changes daily, it changes hourly, it's very extreme. So what concerns you might see at 5 might not be the concerns you see at 8, because she's not even fully self-aware yet at this point. Once she becomes fully self-aware, that anxiety, unless she's learning how to advocate and deal with it, can actually turn into depression. And nobody wants an 8-year-old depressed. People want, at the earliest age possible, knowing what this is and how to deal with it, so we can learn how to deal with the world at our youngest age of development.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again very, very much, and we really appreciate it here, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. And thank you again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.